Hey, how are you? I'm hopeful that you can hear me better this week. I understand that it was a little trickier to hear me last week, so I'm just propping my phone up in a slightly different way. Hopefully that'll work. How are we all? I'm just waiting for Hayley to join us. And we're going to talk forgiveness this evening. Good topic, big topic, deep topic. So we're going to have a bit of a chit chat, and then at the end I'm going to do a guided meditation around the topic. So hopefully you'll be enjoying that. Just been teaching a yoga class this evening. Also just sent out email, so if you're on my mailing list, you just received an email hopefully about 15 minutes ago. Updates for February. Got a good February offer on with Human Design this month, if that's something that interests you. And just all of our upcoming events here. Teaching tarot this weekend, if you want to learn how to read tarot. Doing that on Sunday. Still some spaces left for that. Here's Hayley. Also got our Fareham group coming up next week on Friday. I've now moved that to monthly. We've got Jackie Campbell talking about metaphysics, so that's going to be really interesting. Ah, here she is.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, doing good, thank you.
Good. I was just plugging some of the stuff that was happening while I was waiting.
Oh, nice. Very productive.
Yeah. Oh, look at you with your mug of tea.
Oh, yeah, it's lovely. It's a nice big one.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So talking of big ones, big topic.
Oh, it's just cut out. What'd you say?
I said talking of big mugs of tea, big topic.
Yeah.
To go with a tea. Forgiveness.
It is. Yeah. Big.
Yeah. Have we got like another 10 hours to finish that conversation?
I know. We're gonna have to try and keep it nice and quick, but yeah, we'll do our best.
Why did we pick this topic, Hayley?
I just feel like it's such a huge catalyst to be able to take back your power, because we're the ones hurting ourselves, right? When we're holding on to shit, it's not the other person that's being affected by it. I know things that have been done to us it doesn't mean it's right, it doesn't condone what's happened, but it takes back our peace and takes back our power when we choose to forgive for ourselves and for our own serenity and peace and in our inner worlds.
I think that
I know that I've had a big journey with forgiveness and still ongoing, because we're all human. We all hold a bit of resentment for things that people do to us, but I believe there's lessons in it when we can step back and observe what that lesson might be, put our shoes on the other foot, have empathy, and realize that everyone's really just doing the best in the time they know how, and it's usually just a projection of their pain. So when I kind of realized that, it helped me to forgive a lot more. I know there's still probably a long way to go, and it's not one of these things that happen overnight, but yeah, it's definitely a very powerful thing to be able to do, just to take back your own peace. I like the saying, when you're holding on to resentment, it's like you're drinking the poison but waiting for the other person to get sick, you know, like they're not affected, it's us that we're being affected by it. So yeah, what about you? What does it mean to you?
I think the biggest thing that you just said there is that forgiveness is for yourself. It's not about the other person really at all. You know, it's not, because I think, you know, people hurt us. That's just the reality of life. All of us can resonate with being hurt by someone. But as you say, they're probably not worried or hurt over it necessarily, but you're holding on to that pain, right? And so by you forgiving them, they don't even need to know that it's not about them feeling better about themselves.
Yeah,
it's you feeling better about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that for me it's more, I don't know if even forgiveness is the right word for me. For me it's more about like understanding or empathy. I think my biggest journey with forgiveness is trying to understand why the other person behaved that way.
Yeah.
Not necessarily condoning any behavior, as you say, but just understanding, well, why would they think that's acceptable? And where has that come from?
Yeah, that's powerful in
And I
itself.
think often when we look at, particularly when we're in the moment of it, it's all very raw, and you can't possibly look at what's going on with the other person because you're too hurt or broken or,
Yeah.
very raw, as I said. But in hindsight, when things aren't active anymore, when you look back at it, sometimes I think it really helps to say, well, actually, maybe they grew up in a very narrow-minded community. Maybe they went through some trauma. Maybe their parents weren't very loving. Maybe, all, the list can go on and on and on and on. But really trying to understand, where did their validation for that behavior come from? What does that stem from? And 9 times out of 10, it's not from them. It's from a situation or circumstance that they've been through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there was a moment for me where someone told me what had happened to them in their life, and they even said, like, this doesn't excuse my behavior in the slightest, but what it did do was it really helped me to have compassion and empathy and understanding. I was able to put myself in their shoe more. But a lot of the time we may not know, and we may not ever know what their circumstances are to why they behave that way. But there's always stuff going on that we might not know or understand. And it's just about, if you have that empathy and, like you say, let those emotions settle, because often we can't see if the water's all boiling, it's a bit too foggy and whatever, I can't think of the word, to be able to see through it, too chaotic. And then once it settles, it starts to clear again, and you can see more objectively and see from an open mind or different perspectives, and that's helpful in itself, I think. And again, it's taking back your own power and knowing that it's forgiving is for giving back to yourself, so
Love
it's
that. Forgiving is forgiving.
Yeah, and we have to remind ourselves of these things, don't we, when we're sitting in that resentment. I'm like, oh no, this isn't healthy for me. I'm the one hurting, not them. They don't even know I'm thinking about them right now. And it's definitely a practice.
I think sometimes, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I think sometimes, if, like you say, we may not ever know. And I think sometimes it's helpful just to make up stories. Look, we make up stories anyway. And normally we make up a story that they're a terrible person.
Yeah.
But why can't we make up a story that they're a broken person, or a person might have undiagnosed mental health issues, or whatever, we can make up a story if that helps us to move into that forgiveness thing, because
I like that. And usually it is coming from pain, isn't it? A lot of the world does project the pain onto others, and it's how they cope and deal with things.
hurt people, right?
Yes. Yeah. And heal people as well.
Yeah.
We've got to take that responsibility for our own healing. We can't change what's happened in the past, but we can learn from it. We can take away the emotional charge from it. We can take back our power and peace by through that forgiveness.
Yeah. So at the moment, this conversation feels very victim heavy. Something's happened to us and we need to forgive the other person. Let's flip it on its head a moment. What about forgiveness for ourselves? How does it work with you? Because I think that's hugely even more powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the one people forget about when you ask people, who do you need to forgive? Most people wouldn't even think of themselves, but it's probably the one that should be at the top of the list of what we put ourselves through, and how hard we can be on ourselves. And I think that's probably the most powerful thing to do is forgive ourselves. There's a little process I do in the morning of, today I'm I'm celebrating myself for, it's kind of like one of them shit sandwiches, like I'm celebrating myself for this. And that can be hard in itself, to look yourself in the mirror and think of all the achievements, especially if you're not feeling in the best place. And then it goes on to the today I'm forgiving myself for, and I list 3 things in each subject, and then I go on to and now I'm making a commitment to myself. And that might be, you know, to live more forgivingly and compassionately. But yeah, I definitely think forgiveness of ourselves is huge. But the question is, how do we bloody do it? You know, I've worked through things, and I know we have these tips and tools, but how do you actually truly fully embody it to the point of, I saw a clip once where this guy murdered another guy, and in the court the dad came up to the murderer and hugged him and completely forgave him. Now I know, speaking on myself, I don't know if someone did that to my family member, if you could ever truly forgive something like that. And he's obviously at a place of pure peace and enlightenment to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But how do we actually get there, you know?
So I've had
the answers.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a circumstance, not exactly the same, but some would say wouldn't be forgivable. But so as you know, my children are adopted, and the birth parents of my children have done some very cruel things. And I have met with the birth parents of both of those children, and particularly for my eldest daughter, whose birth father is a convicted paedophile. I really thought I was going to be angry. I didn't know how I was going to sit in a room with him. And then I met him, and I almost wanted to take him home just as much as I wanted to take my daughter home, and to kind of, you know, clean him up and teach him what a real life can be like, and teach him what real love can be like. And, you know, I just felt sad for him because he's a product of his environment or his circumstances or his experiences. And I left, and I'm so pleased that I did it for both of my children's parents, because it's changed the narrative about how I talk to them about their birth parents. It's huge.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And I think as well, a lot of people think that they need to have that closure or need to have that apology and that meet up, but I don't think that's always the case as well. I think obviously in some instances it's very helpful, but in others I think it can hinder. You know, like I would never want to give someone advice to go and have that closure with someone. If those people are not meant to be in each other's lives, if it's going to make things worse, make things toxic. But that's where we have to just decide for ourselves what's right for us in that moment, I suppose.
Isn't it?
Pardon?
The judgment call.
Yeah.
And I also,
sorry. I was going to say, because you don't want them to then blame you and have resentment for you for telling them the wrong thing as well. I think it's all about like taking that full responsibility for what we do and how we act and where we go from there. And yeah, sometimes it's not the right call to write this big letters. I think sometimes actually writing the big letter is very helpful, but not sending it. Yeah, just getting that out and pen and paper and getting it all down.
I also think that if we can step aside from our egos, then intuitively we'll know whether it's okay to approach the situation directly or whether it's just some distance work to be done, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's stepping out of the ego, which is the harder part, right?
Yeah. How do we do that, Luke?
Well, if I knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all going to resonate with different practices.
Yeah.
For me, I don't even think it's about, you're quite good at routine, right? You get up and you do your thing, you've got your process, and that really helps you. But for me, I can't function like that necessarily.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a little more organic, and it's all really based on where my mind goes. So it's not a physical thing that I do, but it's a thinking thing. And actually, the one thing in my routine that I do is to have a hot bath every morning, even in the heat of the summer. I still have like a half-hour long hot bath every morning, and it's like the thinking tub.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I always drive in silence now. I no longer put the radio on. I love that because it's my thinking time. And so when I can think, I have just trained myself, and yeah, it doesn't work in every situation, but I've really trained myself to think in more depth. So not to think in victim mentality or think in ego mentality, but to think, but why? To get really curious and really dig into the whys. And as I said earlier, even if that means making up a story,
Yeah.
you know. So for me, that's my process.
Yeah, cool. I think as well, when we do these practices, it helps us to recognize when we're in that ego and when that victim's come up again as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like the meditation helps me to become more aware and to put, like you say, about questioning things and without the judgment so much, and just being curious with it and asking why. It's definitely powerful. It's like tapping into that, the inner child, for the childlike curiosity that we've, I think, come so far away from. We've just been told, or if you've grown up to be told, because I said so, you know, so you just have to accept things. But I think it's about as well unlearning the things that weren't right for us to relearn in a more productive way. And that is, I think, to question everything, question it, not overly so that you'd send yourself mad, but yeah, I think questioning things is good,
I think,
just to have that compassionate conversation with yourself.
and I think a good practice, which I think I've just established, I haven't really thought about it this way, but just because we're talking about it, my practice then is that I've given myself time to think.
Yeah,
I've given myself,
that's a process in
yeah,
itself. Meditate, like,
bath and silence in the car. So I have given myself permission to think. But then there's also an end to it. So you can't overthink. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You know, there's a limit to it. By the time I parked the car and got out, it stopped. And by the
yeah, that's good. That's actually something they teach in cognitive
how
behavioral
is it?
therapy.
Yeah.
They call it worry time. Yeah, at the time when I learned it, I was like, what are you on about? I'm worrying and anxious 24/7. I can't just be like, oh, let's put this on the back burner and worry about this later and only give myself half an hour to think about it, and then I've got to stop. Like, I was so consumed
Mm.
that wasn't right for me then, but it planted the seed for later when I was ready for it, to be able to, like you having that time in your car, like you're giving yourself permission to think, because we can get addicted to anything, even meditation, and that's a form of escapism,
Yeah.
right? Like to not have our thoughts
Yeah.
when they're totally normal and we're allowed, should be allowed to think. But yeah.
Good. So what are your, I mean, you've talked through some things already, but I guess what has been the biggest shift for you in terms of a practice or a, scheduled thing that you do?
Around forgiveness, I probably wouldn't have like a scheduled thing, but it's more so if I feel it coming up, then I sit with it when it comes up. So the whole organic kind of thing of, oh, okay, I can feel a bit of resentment here. And I think naming what it is, just objectively without judgment, naming the feeling that you have, calling in compassion and empathy, as well as calling in other support systems, whether that be God, a higher self, a guide of some kind, and people you trust around you if you wanted to reach out and vent about it. I think journaling is quite powerful to write down. Even one, I don't know if you've heard of a fuck you letter, like getting out like everything. You can do
Uh,
this for yourself, like actually like get that fuck you energy out there,
then
because
burn it.
anger's, yeah, go and burn it after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then usually I do a thank you letter after, so it's not all negative, but getting that emotion out as well as like naming it, sitting with it, feeling it in your body, and then screaming into a pillow or smashing up the pillow or whatever it is. I don't do that so much anymore, but I used to be a very angry person that those things would help me in the past. But I find anger just is hiding a lot of emotions underneath. So it's about just being real with ourselves, taking responsibility for our feelings, and giving ourselves permission to feel it, reminding ourselves we're safe to feel
I
it. But yeah, that.
the permission to feel it is good, because it's so easy to get swept up in this. Well, I should just think positive,
Yeah,
or I should reframe how I think about it. But then that's not dealing with it. It's just shoving it down, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
So I think that's really good, to give yourself permission to feel it. There's another practice that I've done before, but also I've worked with people with this, because we live by the sea. I just grab a Sharpie pen, go down to the beach, write like a person's name or something that makes us angry or whatever on a pebble or a stone, and then just lob it into the sea, and
I
just
love
keep
that.
doing that on repeat until you're kind of getting it out of your system.
That's good. I like that one. I do a similar one with the stone. I just speak to the stone and I'm like, take away my worries or whatever it may be and throw it in the ocean.
I just graffiti on them.
That's okay.
um,
We'll let you off, Luke.
it's a great practice just to, literally throw something as angrily and as far as you can out into
Yeah.
the ocean. It's quite cathartic in itself.
Yeah, definitely. And it's releasing that anger as well.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I do, because I'm a writer, I will I'll be at like 3 a.m. I'll be wide awake having an imaginary argument with someone in my head, and I'll write out our whole spiel of argument into a text, and then just not send it, and then delete it the next morning.
That's good as well.
Yeah.
I've often done that. I used to press the send
Yeah, me
button
too.
on emotion, and then the next day you just regret it every time.
Yes.
But you're going to keep going through the same pattern until you learn.
Yeah.
And then you wake up the next day and one day you didn't send it, and you're like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
And your spirit guides are up there like, yay, she learned the lesson.
Yeah, 100%. It's learning not to press send. The big lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. Very powerful, because you're often in a completely different emotional state and you're thinking much more clearly.
Then something about the night time where everything is just worse.
Yeah.
It was always worse when you're awake in the night, isn't it? And you're
Yeah. And it's ruminating in your
oh,
head and you've got nowhere to escape to.
it just feels so much worse. And like you say, you wake up the next day and you go, oh, it wasn't that bad actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would be your tips, your best bits to help you forgive yourself or others?
Crowbar into my life. Kind of as I've said, I've found time in my life just to really think things out, but not at night.
Okay.
Not at night time. In like the proper cold hard daylight when you can be a bit more rational. And then talk it out with someone. Have you got a person that you can just vent to non-judgmentally? Like, great. And even if you don't, I don't know, if you can afford it, like see a therapist or something, and just you need a outlet for someone to reflect back to you what you're saying. I think is important to what you're someone just to reflect it back to you. Oh, someone here just said about she likes to write it out as poetry. That's lovely.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, we've got a few comments I haven't read yet.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. That's very sweet. And Jackie says, I do these letters and rip them up. So cathartic. It really helps to get clarity on a situation. Nice. Love that. Yeah, if anyone else watching or watching the replay has tips, please feel free to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was thinking we could do a meditation practice this evening for maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
But how do we feel? So are we feeling a meditation practice for forgiveness of others, or are we feeling a meditation practice for forgiveness of ourselves?
Should we, who's watching? Should we let people vote, or
I
what
mean,
are you feeling?
they want to write a comment and or say what they prefer, or if not, we'll decide.
Okay. I've got my vote, but
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like anyone's commenting.
No.
All right. Hayley, what's your vote?
I vote ourselves, because I think that's the most powerful one. What would you have gone? Okay, cool.
Yeah, Jackie says
Ourselves.
ourselves.
Cool, Jackie. We're all on the same
My
page. Nice.
Too. Great, we'll do that. Okay.
Yeah, Cal says for ourselves as well.
Awesome. Got it. So we're going to sit comfortably, however we are. If it's possible, try and connect part of your body to the earth. So whether that's your feet or if you're sat on the floor, just really try and connect. And forgiveness is powerful, so we're going to take a moment to ground ourselves. And we're going to do that as we visualize our feet or if we're sat down, our bottoms are root connected to the earth, as though you can feel roots growing from you and seeping downwards into the earth. They seep through your flooring, through the structure of the building, through the foundations, and connect deep down into the earth, connecting you with the earth, keeping you grounded, keeping you safe. Now just connect with your breath, observing it in its own natural rhythm. Just feeling it flow in and out. Observing the gentle movement in your abdomen. And just really feel your shoulders relax. As we begin to use our mind's eye to guide ourselves through this short meditation practice for forgiveness. Bringing the mind to the center of your torso. You imagine a tiny orb of golden light just spinning round inside of you. As this tiny sphere spins, it glows with warmth, and it starts to radiate through your skin, and it starts to surround your body with beautiful golden light. And from this point above the navel, our solar plexus, we start to feel this golden light extend from us as it starts to seep out, almost in the shape of a tube. It extends out in front of us and starts to create a second ball of golden light. And that ball starts to expand and expand until you have two evenly sized spheres of light with this connection, this tube of light between them. And as you gaze into this sphere in front of you, you observe this child. And this small child in front of you is you, the child childhood version of yourself. Just really take in this image. What age are you? What expression do you have on your face? What's your posture or body language telling you? And how do you feel about the energy of this child in front of you? As you both are here in these two spheres of golden light, connected, as you gaze into each other's eyes. Now bring your mind's eye to your heart. And I want you to feel now, if you can think of a moment in your life where you have laughed and laughed. And I want you to feel that energy, a silly moment, a fun moment, a joyous moment. Just really feel that lightness and joy and silliness in your heart. You even think of the funniest thing that's ever happened to you. And just bring that joy, that deep belly laughter into your heart space. And allow the smile to come across your face and the smile to come across your heart. And start to infuse that smile, that good energy feeling with this beautiful emerald green with glistening, sparkling pink shimmers. And every shimmer is a laugh. And this green just makes you smile as it shines and glitters. And just like that tube that connects you with these two yellow spheres, you start to feel another tube of energy firing from your heart space and penetrating in to that yellow sphere with little you inside. And as it does, all of these glittery, shiny, pink, shimmering laughter, joyful, happy moments just glitter down all over little you. And little you just gives you a cracking smile and a giggle that only a child could make. As this golden sphere is filled with love. Unconditional, happy, joyous love. And then you look at the innocence of that child, and that innocent child looks back at you, and you share a deep connection. As that feeling of joy flows right back into you. And perhaps in this moment, there is something that you want to say to that child. And perhaps you'd like to tell that child, everything's going to be okay. But no matter how challenging life gets, they're going to be okay. And you know that because you've made it through every day so far. Everything is going to be okay. And perhaps you want to tell that child not to be so hard on themselves, because everything is going to be okay. And perhaps you tell that child that you love them unconditionally, because everything is okay. And that child looks back at you, and with the warmest of smiles, they say, I love you, I forgive you, everything is going to be okay. And just breathe that in. And as you breathe it in, imagine all of that shimmering pink glitter just coming back through both of those pathways, the yellow tube and the green tube, and flowing into you, flowing through your body, through your solar plexus, through your heart center, and all that shimmering glitter just circles around you and fills you with love and joy and forgiveness, because everything is going to be okay. And you say thank you to that child. And you start to see that sphere shrink and shrink and shrink. And those channels of energy between the sphere and your sphere just start to move back inwards into your body, pulling in that tiny sphere with that inner child right back into your torso. And you feel that love and wholeness rejoin you. And you observe that golden sphere around you. It shrinks and shrinks and shrinks back until it's inside. And it just gently disperses within you. You are back to being your whole and present human in this moment. You take 3 deep breaths. You gently wiggle your fingers and toes. And very slowly open your eyes. Everything is okay.
That was beautiful. I was almost going to fall asleep there.
Yeah, me too. So I think you're welcome. I think on that note, we're probably all ready to chill for the evening now. So we'll wrap up our chit chat and say thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Cal said that was so, wow, that was so powerful. I sobbed during it. It was so powerful. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. That was very healing.
So we will see you all next week with a new topic.
Yeah, look forward to it. Oh, lots of people are saying thank you.
Thank you.
Husband joining too. Really needed this. Thanks. Luke's a legend, isn't he? He's a powerful soul.
Okay.
We all needed that tonight. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Take care all and have a lovely, restful sleep.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.